Hello there, Inspired Tenno. I was scouring YouTube. I was looking for a tier list of all arcanes in the game and I couldn't find one. It was always like top 5 best arcanes. So I wanted to do a comprehensive list of all of the arcanes, but I thought that would be a little bit much for one video. So today we're just going to do the Warframe arcanes, not including the ones that require kit guns. I think that belongs with the kit gun arcanes. But with no further ado, let's just get into it. Firstly, we have F tier, starting with Arcane Healing. There's not much to say here. Arcane Healing is just plain bad. Spending an entire arcane just protecting yourself from radiation procs is simply not worth it. Arcane Bodyguard is only slightly better. It does, however, serve a function in that you can use it to heal your companion. There are other better options, many of which heal yourself as well, so therefore it also gets an F. Arcane Warmth gets a solid E, and the reason for this is that cold is one of the least threatening status effects in the game, thus it is not worth spending an entire arcane slot protecting yourself from it. There are many ways to heal yourself and your allies in Warframe. Pulse is one of them. Unfortunately, it's not a particularly good way of doing so, and therefore we're still in the E category. The only saving grace for this arcane is the fact that you can run it on Despawn Necros to sort of play him a little bit like a healer. Arcane Ice is one step up from Arcane Warmth, only because Heat is a more dangerous status proc, but it's still in the E category. Now moving into the D tier, we have Arcane Ultimatum. Arcane Ultimatum is actually an arcane which offers some insane defensive options. However, there are another arcane which is ranked higher later on, which kind of pushes this one down into D tier. Arcane Momentum is a pretty damn bad arcane, however it is quite fun to play with, which pushes it up into D tier. Arcane Eruption scores a lot of points because of its uniqueness. There are not really any other arcanes in the Warframe slot that gives you CC, and therefore it is up here, however it is not a very great CC. Arcane Consequences is more or less useless. However, it can help you to complete the mission a little bit faster, and I am bunking it up into D tier because it is so cheap. Arcane Awakening is one of those arcanes which may look very powerful at first, but having played a couple of games with this myself, I can tell you that the micromanagement is not worth the reward. At least Arcane Agility is self-activating most of the time, again not that useful of an ability, and the fact that it is rare means that it is quite a bit more expensive. So solid D tier. Our first arcane in the C tier is Arcane Victory. This is not a bad arcane at all, however it is outdone by another arcane. Arcane Trickery is once again quite useful for some very specific purposes, which mainly involves the invisibility, stealth, affinity multiplier. However, outside of that it is not useful now that Mark of Death has been nerfed. Arcane Tempo. This arcane has a very narrow purpose, however its effect is not bad, and also it is quite cheap being a common arcane. Arcane Resilience. Some builds just need to be resistant to toxin, as armor will not protect them against this kind of damage. However, I will say that there are better ways to get rid of this status effect, however for a lazy playstyle this can be very useful. Arcane Aegis. This arcane is very powerful, specifically when played on Hildren. However, when played on pretty much any other Warframe, this becomes kind of close to useless. Warframes that relies on shield don't want to be taking damage. Now we're moving into B tier, and this is where we will start to see some of the hard-hitting arcanes. First up is Arcane Strike. It is only uncommon, therefore not that difficult to get your hands on, but still decently pricey. However, its effect is great for any melee-based build. Arcane Raids is quite difficult to trigger. It is very cheap, and because no one really plays it, and it gives you base damage to primaries, which is quite difficult to come by, therefore it gets its B rating. Arcane Phantasm is hilariously fun to play with. It is however quite useless and I can therefore only give it a B. Arcane Nullifier is quite expensive even though it is a common, which would tell you that it is actually quite powerful. Magnetic is one of the most annoying status effects in the game and being able to completely ignore them is quite nice, therefore the B rating. Deflection is the same reason, it gets its rating for the same reason as Resilience. However, I will say that status procs, slash procs are more prevalent and therefore the higher rating. Arcane Blade Charger offers an incredible amount of melee damage. It is really annoying having to constantly change between your weapons, but I will say that the amount of damage cannot be ignored. Arcane Avenger. What is there to say? This is free critical chance on builds that rely on armor and take damage all the time. Finally, in B tier we have Arcane Arachne. What makes this arcane so great is the fact that it's guaranteed damage on a very easy to trigger effect. However, the damage bonus is not great enough to push it into A tier. I reluctantly put Arcane Tanker into the A tier. I cannot deny that it gives an incredible amount of defensive power to your build and that it is something which can be triggered by any Warframe at any time. However, it is very annoying to use and therefore I don't use it myself. Very powerful, I don't recommend that you use this. Arcane Primary Charger. This is in A tier while Blade Charger was in B tier because again primary damage and good primary supporting arcanes are hard to come by, therefore the A rating. Arcane Possession gets an A rating only because of its synergy with Arcane Pistolier. Both of these arcanes would be way further down the rankings if not for the fact that they have such great synergies with one another. Arcane Barrier is very powerful in Hildren but useless on all other Warframes more or less. Arcane Acceleration is quite a bit better because it's fire rate for all primaries and not a specific type of primary. It's pretty much free because most weapons can critical hit. It's very few weapons which cannot hit 3 critical strikes in 9 seconds and therefore it gets its A rating. Now, finally we are here in S tier. These are in my opinion the best of the best arcanes for Warframes. First up we have Arcane Velocity. Arcane Velocity might not seem like it belongs here in S tier, but you have to keep in mind that 1. Mesa can trigger this and Mesa greatly benefits from this. And I guess thirdly, Mesa is very powerful right now. Arcane Guardian. I only recently realized just how powerful this arcane really is. 900 armor is a lot of damage reduction. Simply slapping this on a Warframe will turn them into a tank from a squishy one-shot frame. That is absolutely worthy of a S tier ranking. Also its price kind of suggests that it is quite powerful considering that it is an uncommon. Now we are at the home stretch. This is the second best arcane for Warframes in the game right now. It's Arcane Grace. I think that Arcane Grace is great in many ways. On some Warframes it pretty much makes them immortal, quite literally in some cases, especially when used in conjunction with Arcane Guardian. However, there are some frames such as shield frames or invisibility frames who simply cannot benefit from this arcane whatsoever. Therefore, I have to simply give it an S+ rank. Finally, the best of the best, S++, to no one's surprise, it's Arcane Energize. I wondered if I could really declare this an S++ considering the price of it, but you know, I all in all have paid 5,000 platinum to upgrade my Arcane Energize to Arcane level 20. Oh sorry, it's a rank 5 but you need 21 Arcanes. And I thought to myself I would have done it again. It's that good. I've never regret spending that amount on it. What Arcane Energize does is that when you apply it to a Warframe, all of your energy troubles just goes away. And for any ally within 30 meters of you, that's also true, and that's not an insignificant amount of space. Arcane Grace sort of has its own unique niche where it solves a problem single-handedly, and therefore I think that it is worthy of being the best Arcane in the Warframe slot. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you like this kind of content, why not subscribe? There is many more videos like these coming. Also, if you didn't like it, why don't you dislike the video and then go down in the comments and tell me why you didn't like it and if you would prefer me to do a different kind of content, whether that be build videos, more IR farming videos, or something completely different. I take your feedback very seriously. Thank you for your continuous support, and I will see you in the next one.